All right, Nick, let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys doing a lot of great stuff this offseason. They've made a lot of good moves, a lot of good signings. We've talked about the smart football moves they have made, but now it's getting to draft season. We're starting to see things happen in the draft. And I think there's some really interesting things going on about who the Cowboys are bringing in, who they're looking at. I think there's one guy in particular that really strikes my fancy and seems like another smart, good, under the radar move the Cowboys are making, much like all of the moves they've made this offseason. We'll dive into that here in just a second, but before we do, I'm Andrew, that's Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, really interesting move here for the Cowboys as far as somebody to bring in on a top 30 visit. Let's get into the tweet and we'll talk more about it on the other side. This is a combination tweet first from Marcus Mosher analyzing a tweet from Ian Rappaport. He says, "We know Matt Eberflus went to Tennessee's pro day and now James Pierce is a top 30 visit. Feels like another round two Dallas Cowboys special." And Ian Rappaport, of course, says Tennessee edge James Pierce spent yesterday with the Arizona Cardinals. And then he also has visits with the Colts, Bengals this week, and with the Cowboys and Falcons last week. I think this is a really interesting move here for the Cowboys. Seems like something that may be fitting a theme that they have going on this offseason. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this one, Nick. But before we get to you, Cowboys fans, in the comments section below, talking about day two picks, talking about a move the Cowboys can make here. What do you think about James Pierce? Is this a guy that you'd love to have on your team? Do you hate him? Do you not even know anything about him? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below on everything James Pierce. But nonetheless, Nick, I want to know what your thoughts are on this latest move by the Cowboys.
So Pierce is an interesting prospect, first and foremost. So he's two-time All-SEC at Tennessee, top flight school, went to the college football playoff. Great physical tool set. The problem is when you look at his film, if you listen to the scouts, it doesn't just look very, I'm thinking the word elegant, right? It doesn't look the way a lot of them like. There's some concerns, right? The extreme is that he's kind of like Wilson, the top 10 pick of the Las Vegas Raiders, where he has all his physical gifts, is a good player in college, but can it translate to the NFL? That's the question mark when it comes to Pierce. But I think the Cowboys are taking the right approach here because if you look at their defensive structure right now, certainly at edge, obviously we know Micah Parsons is there. He's paired with Oso Digizua on the inside, so that's fine. The question is going to be the rest of the rotation. Dante Fowler will be involved. You have two young guys, of course. We're talking Williams, but he's coming off of a major knee, a major injury. I believe it was an Achilles, I believe, may have been ACL. Someone please correct me in the comment section if I got that wrong. But he's coming off a major injury. So there's some question marks there. And now you have Nealon going into year two. So you probably are looking at four pass rushers. That's really what you want, right? A two deep. So you look at Fowler, he's one. Parsons is obviously one. And now you've got, two guys there. One of them, Williams, coming off an injury, and another guy, Nealon. Concern, can he actually step up, right? So you want to have a little bit of margin of safety there. So a guy like Pierce could be another guy to throw into the fold if, let's say, Nealon doesn't step up or Williams can't recover from injury. So, because to be honest, one of those two things is probably going to happen just looking at the odds. So Pierce, I think, is the perfect guy to do it. He's a guy that wins in terms of pass rush, just at an incredibly high rate at college against top flight competition. One of the concerns is that can he be an every down player? If you look at how he looks, how he plays, things like that, it's a valid concern. But as a pass rusher with his athletic toolkit, his production at the highest level of college football, he can slide in right away and be a top flight pass rusher in the National Football League. And honestly, if the Cowboys pick him in the second round, that's all he's going to be doing anyway. So if you look at this from a fit perspective and kind of from a need perspective, it makes a lot of sense for the Cowboys, especially considering Fowler's on a short-term deal. Williams is coming to the end-ish of his rookie deal. Nealon obviously has a few years left. But in terms of what they're looking for a pass rusher, especially now that they moved on from DeMarcus Lawrence, they need another guy there to kind of add more competition to the mix, especially an accomplished guy. I think Pierce could make a lot of sense if and only if, of course, they get offensive playmaker, ideally running back, maybe wide receiver in the first round, and then they have options later in the draft to get another playmaker. So that's the big caveat there. You got to get your offensive playmaker right in the first round. But if you do that and the guy with Pierce's upside falls to you in the second, it would be one of the biggest moves of the entire draft. It would be a massive steal for the Cowboys.
Yeah, Nick, and I think Pierce would be a absolute steal, like you said. I think he's a very highly rated player. A lot of people seeing a lot of good things about him, but I think the key here is this draft. The more and more we hear about it, I don't think anybody knows what's going on at the top parts of this draft. There's so much, rumors and stories about things moving around, who's going to get what quarterback, where people are going to slot in. Where I think this is a draft that we see a lot of good, talented players fall. And I think Pierce is one of those guys that potentially would be available as a second round type of guy for the Cowboys. I think he's really, really good intangibles. I think he has good athletic ability, but he's also got great production as well on a team in the SEC going against some of the best offensive linemen year in and year out. He's gotten over 21 sacks the last 2 seasons and over 70 pressures total. So this guy, he can really get after the quarterback. He can do a lot of great work here. But I think just this seems like a great move. The Cowboys look into this guy if they feel like he's coming into a spot. I think some places have him like in the mid 20s as far as where his rating is, but that's a guy that could easily fall to day 2 as far as that goes. We've seen it happen numerous times. Pierce seems like a guy that would be an absolute steal, like you said. I really love this potential pick. I think it would be a great fit for the Cowboys, and I just think overall James Pierce seems good. So them bringing in top 30 visit, the fact they're looking into him, having him be an option on this draft board, I think is really big, and I think it could be an absolute home run if they're able to score.
And like you kind of hit on it there, I think it's really important. Guys like Pierce are the guys that fall. Good players, good competition, but they have a glaring weakness that scares some teams, and then they just fall down draft boards. And it happens every single year. CeeDee Lamb, it happened to CeeDee Lamb. He was a top 5 talent. He fell to the Cowboys, I believe, at 17 in 2020, just because there were some concerns about his physical frame, right? It happens every single year. First round guys fall to the second round, top 5 guys fall to 15, 20. Pierce is setting up to be one of those guys to fall out of the first round to where Dallas could get him. And if they did, it would be a massive steal. I think the Cowboys are preparing themselves to make that move if it happens. Look, I know people are looking at other positions, namely running back, wide receiver. But if Pierce falls to you in the second round, this Cowboys leadership has to make this move, and it looks like they're preparing to do just that.